Hello, everyone. Welcome to Avaya's Overcoming Narcissistic Abuse curriculum. I'm Andy Anderson. My partner, Ike Allen, and I are teachers, mentors, and the co-owners of Avaya University. Avaya is the creator of over 1,000 books, films, courses, teachings, and other supportive materials. Thanks so much for being here. Our fellow teacher, Stacy Brookman, is here to talk with us today about one simple way to find your resilience. Stacy is a resilience and life storytelling expert. She produces the Real Life Resilience podcast and the Emotional Abuse Recovery and Resilience Summit. She helps smart, outwardly confident women who secretly have low self-esteem issues due to an emotionally abusive partner. She helps them take back control and begin to develop the resilience they need to be themselves again. She believes that life is a story and it is never too late to start telling yours. And you may have seen Stacy in the past, several other Avaya University events. We've been honored to have her as a speaker for our Breaking Free from Abandonment and Betrayal curriculum, as well as our Overcoming Insecurity and Low Self-Esteem curriculum. So thank you so much for being back with us here today, Stacy.
Oh, Andy, I am so happy to be here and thrilled that we can share this information, that you're doing this, because this is going to help so many people. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And I thought of you when we started getting ready for this event, knowing that this is a big part of what you do. So
right.
I'm so excited to talk with an expert about such topics. So could you start us off by just telling us a little bit more about what does it mean to find resilience when you're in the midst of or potentially getting out of a narcissistic relationship?
Yeah, so we all know narcissistic relationships are incredibly tough. They are very tough. In fact, they're emotionally abusive. Most people don't even like to say that word. I've been through abuse, or I've been in abuse. But if you've been in a very tough relationship like this, that's abuse. And so when you're inside that trauma, your brain gets into a fog. Like you're just trying to get through each day. And so what resilience looks like means getting out of that brain fog, getting out of that trauma and understanding yourself, looking inward and understanding who you are and the great wisdom that you have inside, and being able to leverage that wisdom to make your life better, brighter, and more resilient. So I think so many people don't feel like they're beaten down, right? And they don't feel like they can survive on their own, or they feel like life has thrown lots of grenades at them and things like that. But you can live a joy-filled life after a relationship like this. You absolutely can. I don't care, how much money you've lost. I don't care what type of situation you're in. You can live a more resilient life. And so that's my mission, is to give people a shortcut through that.
Excellent. So, and that is such a beautiful vision, because that is really the whole point of this, is to cast a vision for our viewers that you can make it through whatever you're in, and you can live your amazing, healthy life, and potentially healthy relationships and stuff are waiting for you. It's just, obviously going through the muck to get through, to that other side. So thank you for all that you do to help people be more resilient. So what is your best method of helping people become more resilient?
Well, what my superpower, and what I really believe everybody's superpower can be, is writing through that tough stuff, writing to heal yourself, because writing is incredibly healthy. So, and writing means not simply journaling. Journaling is good, but really digging into that tough stuff and uncovering the ugly side of life, but on paper. Right? Getting that stuff out of your head. When you experience trauma, those traumatic memories are stored in a different part of your brain, a part of your brain that can come back over and over and over again. That part of your brain says, you can't go out to the movies by yourself. You can't handle your own finances. You can't get a better job. You can't do this. You can't do that. That trauma keeps coming back and saying, you're no good. You're not worthy. But you are. You are worthy. Every single person on this planet is worthy of living a more resilient and joyful life. And so what writing does is it pulls all that junk out of your head, puts it down in black and white where you can see it. You can say, and you can tell what is the truth and what is not. You get incredible clarity with writing things down. In fact, it's called the 2-minute miracle. There are tons and tons of research around writing to heal. Writing boosts your immune system. So when you're under stress in a relationship like this, when you've been under stress for, years or even decades, your immune system is weakened. You are, that stress does things to your body that you don't even realize until later. But what writing does is it calms you, gets you much more, like when I was going through that tough stuff and I found a writing class, a memoir writing class, and I started getting some of this stuff out. Oh my gosh, I became so much calmer. My brain released that stressed out fog, and I started becoming clearer and braver even about the steps I needed to take to get out, or about the steps I needed to take to move forward. And it gave me not only clarity, but confidence that maybe I'm not that, sad person that I've been taught that I was. And that maybe I could do some things on my own and step out. And so I absolutely love writing. You can tell I'm really, really passionate about it. So,
and
yeah.
You have your writing on your shirt. You have your typewriters in the
back. Yes. I'm all about the writing.
Well, that's so beautiful. And I love that you also mentioned that, right, once you started really kind of dumping all that stuff out of you onto paper, that your head was clearer. Like, why is that? Like, what is I've heard a lot of people talk during, classes throughout this event that people have a lot of brain fog and confusion and all that stuff. Like, can you share a little bit more about why that is?
Yes. So when you have that brain fog and that confusion, your brain is actually trying to protect you, right? So your brain knows there's some cognitive dissonance, right? There's some things going on. You believe this, but you're actually doing this. And your brain is saying, that's not good, or there are these bad things happening and you're not taking care of yourself. So there's some cognitive dissonance going on there. And there's a lot of creates a lot of stress and brain fog. So what writing does is it says, it just gets it out in black and white. And it says, here's exactly, so you know exactly what the scope of the problem is. When your brain is trying to hide those things from you, and it's trying to say, you know what, let's just forget about those. Let's put them in the back of your head. Let's deal with those bills later. Let's deal with that relationship issue later. Let's do something else. Let's play a game on your computer or, watch mindless TV. And there's a time and place for that, but there's a time and place to address things. And it's hard to address things, and they seem like bigger and bigger problems when they're still in your head. When you put them down on paper, when you write out this tough stuff and what's happening, and you kind of explain, here's what's happened this week, and here's what I'm afraid of, and here's what's going on, then the problem seems not maybe quite as big. Then you can say, okay, if this is the problem, what steps do I need to take to get out? Or what steps do I need to take to make my life better? So you can address the problem. If you don't know what the problem is, if it's stuck in your head, rolling around in there, hiding from you, but causing you stress, you can't do anything about it. When it's down in black and white, you can start taking those steps to be braver yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Right. It's getting all that clutter out so that you can take actually inspired actions in your life, and whatever that looks like for you, whatever scenario you're in. So important, because I think so many of us can have, obviously, especially with these experiences of extreme stress and trauma, right? There's so much going on up here. Right? There's countless thoughts and things happening inside there that, without organizing them, getting them out, flushing them, so to speak,
flushing them out. I like that.
Gonna be.
I always say, as human beings, we have a huge capacity for pulling the wool over our own eyes. We really, really do. And it's a protective mechanism. But a better solution than just to hide from your problems is to write so you can release that stressed out fog, write to gain power over your words and over what's happened. You can gain power when you write that out and release that stress and start healing. So writing does heal.
So like let's talk about how our viewers might be able to get started. So like could you share some methods of how people can, start taking this action of writing for, building better resilience in their life?
Yeah, I take my students through 4 steps. There are 4 steps to becoming more resilient, actually leveraging those tough stories. Those tough stories can be beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And so the first step is to embrace those stories. And I know that sounds really counterintuitive. You don't want to embrace those tough stories, but really whenever you've had some tough things going on in your life, you have to turn to your past and stare down those things that are haunting you. You've got to get those out of your head and start writing it and saying, you know what? I acknowledge that you are there, your story, these tough stories. I am going to embrace them because they are my past. They are my history. They are my right now. Whatever that is, I'm going to embrace the fact that I have these stories. You can't change that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you acknowledge and you embrace them, that's step 1. Step number 2 is to enable those stories. And what that means is that's getting all of that junk out of your head, free writing, getting that onto paper or computer, doesn't matter. I did it on computer because I can type way faster than I can write.
Mm-hmm.
But there are lots of good studies also, but that writing, that mind-body connection with writing helps you heal even more. But I'm saying just get it out. When you start writing, like don't even stop. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about, this is for like non-writers too. Like that you don't have to be a writer to write these life stories, but just get that junk out of your head so it's not rolling around out in there. And when you do that, you are going to boost your physical, psychological, and your emotional well-being. And you want to be, especially if you're in the midst of this or just getting out of it or recovering from it, you want to be the best you can possibly be. And this step number 2, enable your stories, is one of the best ways to do that. So then step number 3, that is enhancing your stories. And I love this because that's all about taking that beautiful yet ugly jumbled mess of words you've written and creating an insightful, cohesive story out of it. And it could be one moment in time and another moment in time and another moment in time. This is what's happened. And when you create that insightful, cohesive story, then you're able to rewrite your story. You are able, again, you are in control of that story. You have power over your words. And then the 4th step is to elevate your story. And here's what I tell my students who are reluctant. You never, ever have to share your story. You do not have to share it. Just getting it out of your head and writing is helpful and beneficial. But what if someone is just about to go through what you've been through? Or what if someone is in the midst of going through what you've been through? Wouldn't you want to share that shortcut? And I also tell them, if your story were a sculpture, you'd have like unearthed the rock, you've carved away at the shape and creating a beautiful sculpture, a beautiful work of art. Would you hide that work of art in the closet? Or would you bring that beauty out to share with the world? And how much more impactful will your story be than a simple sculpture? Right. Your story can impact the world. You might not think right now, but it definitely can. So those four steps, those are the 4 steps. And when you do, along the way, you are going to find yourself. You are going to see the superpowers that you have. You're going to take the wisdom that you've really learned through these tough stories and be able to put it into action, right? You might not really have that understanding of the wisdom that you've learned, or your resilience. But when you start writing this out, you're like, oh, I'm good at that. I can do that. I can do this. You discovered things about yourself that have been hidden away for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so writing really unearths that tough stuff so you can leverage that wisdom and just get that stuff out of your head, and you will find a beautiful story about you inside of your tough stories.
I love it. So there's so many things I want to say about all 4 steps, but a couple like highlights. One thing that comes to mind is right at the end, like you mentioned, right? Like getting it out to the other people that could benefit. And I know that like one great way to make yourself feel better, no matter where you are in your life, is to help other people. That's,
Mm,
like my experience. And like,
true.
right. Like, so just taking a look at that, no matter how hard it is right now, like, just consider that in your scenario right now. And obviously, take care of yourself and your family first and foremost.
Right.
Absolutely. Your safety and health and all that is the most important. And, then consider, like helping other people in some way to I think also that boosts self-esteem, right? Because we feel so much better
Oh,
about
yes.
ourselves, right?
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
maybe it's just sharing it with another friend,
Right.
maybe just one person that you might be able to help.
Yeah, because we never know, right? Like, we might say things out loud or write them out, and it's like, oh, right. A lot of us, I think, tend to belittle like our experience in certain ways. But man, then
Mm.
but when we hear other people's stories, we're like, oh my God, that's amazing. I went through the same thing, and it's so helpful.
I have been so shocked by how many people say, that happened to me too, or that happened to me too, or thank you so much for sharing. It's like, it's crazy. I never, I never knew, never expected that.
Yeah,
And I'm very grateful
yeah. Well, I think
because
so
there's
many
a
people.
community of people.
Yeah, people feel alone in their experiences when, man, we can all so relate to each other's experiences in so many different ways. The other
Mhm.
thing that I think is worth noting, particularly given what's going on in the world today, is like how you mentioned how stress, this really, stressful scenario that you might be in right now, or maybe you're out of it now, but you're still dealing with the trauma of it, is your
Mhm.
immune system.
Yes.
Obviously, um, whenever you're listening to this right now, because I don't know what will be going on in the world, but we have been dealing with a lot of craziness around COVID-19, and that's so important. You need to take
Yes.
care of yourself. And if, right, Stacy has this a beautiful message of writing and being able to like get that out of your system to help strengthen your immune system. So important.
Yeah, absolutely. It boosts your immune, like your white blood cells and everything. I mean, like that's a proven fact. It's scientifically proven. There's lots of studies that and it also reduces pain and just the clarity. Today I am so much wiser than before I started writing. And wouldn't you want to be that much wiser too? You can be. And I've my girls are grown. They've seen a joyful, resilient mom. That's the reason I got out of my really bad situation in the first place. I was involved with a narcissist sociopath, and the reason I got out was for my girls, my kids. I didn't want them to grow up seeing this type of relationship and thinking it was normal.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart broke thinking that, just by observing what I was going through, they were at risk. They were at
Yeah.
risk of growing up and having the same thing. That broke my heart. But now, 10 years later, they've seen a joyful, resilient mom. That's what they're modeling after.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely love, love, love that.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you can share about like your life today and having gone through that really challenging experience to kind of cast a vision for our viewers?
Yes, I would say, I have an amazing, amazing life. I've been an introvert almost all my life. I have been the person who is a people pleaser. I've been the person but I lost me in the meantime. And being an introvert, you have superpowers. You can write and discover those superpowers. And yes, it's tough to write some of these things in black and white. Yes, you might write some things that about yourself. Like I, um, I lowered my moral standards when I was with my narcissist sociopath, and I don't like that about myself. I had a life theme of not raising my hand. I didn't like that about myself, But when you write, when you get this stuff out, then you're able to change your life. And it's such a beautiful thing that when you really finally discover who you are and become more authentic, I always used to admire people who were authentic, and they didn't care like what other people thought. They were just themselves. And now I can be myself. I found my voice and my strength and my resilience. And you know what? Everybody listening can do that too. Every single person can do that too.
That's beautiful. So you mentioned something a minute ago called the life theme. And I remember actually talking with you about this, I think the last time we talked. And could you just touch on that briefly? Like how can writing help people determine what this life theme is?
Yeah, so I take people through exercises. It's actually in my guide to free writing your life stories. There are exercises to find lists from your like milestones in your life, periods of conflict in your life, desires that you've had in your life, and things like that. And when you find those, the intersection of those, you're finding your life theme. And so when I first did these exercises, I found out my life theme. Like I discovered from childhood, from kindergarten, high school, young adult, middle-aged adult, I did not raise my hand. That was my life theme. I was like, I didn't say, hey, that's not right. I didn't say, I know the answer. None of that. And I didn't like it because I thought I was a professional woman. I was a professional woman at work. I made six figures. I was to the outside, it looked good. But the inside, I was just that little person that that didn't stand up for herself. So writing helped me. Writing helped me discover who I really, really was, and it helped me be able to turn that around into a very confident person who wants to help other people and give other people a shortcut through this traumatic stuff.
I love it. Thank you. I appreciate that. And, I think of my own life theme. And while it's not something I discovered through your work, but through something different, mine has always been like, and I'm sharing this hoping that people can relate to it in this scenario, right? Has always been like, if you make a mistake, you'll be abandoned, or right. And I had the experience of like my dad leaving and have like since then been this like massive perfectionist in so many ways. And it is triggered like literally every day. It is. And it's the degree to, I respond to it obviously different ways now, but I still am triggered by it. And it's just, since you shared yours, I just want everyone to know that like, we all have something that's kind of like
everybody
underlying, right? Like how we operate in the world, in whatever relationship that you're in or you're getting out of right now.
Yeah.
Like we all have our stuff. So just know that you too have a life theme, but I highly recommend, following Stacy's guidelines to figure that out. Cause it's an important thing to recognize that.
Awareness is huge. Awareness is like when you become aware, because these things are operating in your head again, without you knowing, like your own brain is telling you, don't do this because it's too scary, or don't do this because, your father wouldn't like it or something like that. Right. You don't even know it, but it's doing it. But when you get that out in writing, you absolutely can change that. You know what? Here's the thing too. There's a quote by Maya Angelou, and I'm losing it right now. What that is, but when you know something, you have to. I can't remember what. But you know what? Everybody has two choices, right? Now that you know this is so incredible for you, so incredibly, it can help move you forward into resilience and into joy. You've got two choices. You can either continue to try to bury these things and maybe play whack-a-mole with them for the rest of your life, because they're going to come up, or you can take back your power. You can start to write your tough stories and get them out of your head and become so much clearer and become more resilient. So which choice are you going to make? That's the question. Which choice?
Beautiful. Thank you. I love that. I remember like talking to you last time being really touched by your life themes. So again, everybody just kind of be taking a look at what yours might be and how that influences, right, where you're at in your relationships today, and how we all operate in different ways, and know that you can, write it out, as
Mm-hmm.
Stacy has showed us. So I'd love it if you'd share about a gift that you mentioned a couple minutes
Yes.
ago, and also an offer. So there's a couple buttons below this video, everyone, that lead to Stacy's site. So what do you have for us?
Absolutely. So, if everybody wants to start writing their life stories, or wants to start figuring out, okay, what is my life theme? How do I get this stuff out of my head? I have the guide to free writing your life stories. So it's a guide. It takes you through the quizzes, the list that we want you to make to figure out what your life theme is. It gets you started on writing your first life story. So that is a free download. You can absolutely have that. It's called the Guide to Free Writing Your Life Stories. The other download is, if you are serious and you really want to heal from this trauma that you've been through or that you're in the midst of, you can come to Life Story Laboratory. We're getting started pretty soon. This Life Story Laboratory is a 10-week, 10 module. You can go at your own pace, trip through, and it's a cohort. It's with other people, other survivors, going through their life stories. So one of the things that I really, really loved about, finding my life theme and is that I did it with a safe group. I did it with a group. They were 8 to 10 people, I believe. And every time I brought my stories every week, crazy stories, this is what's happened to me. And I was somewhat embarrassed, but they held my stories in their hands safely. They didn't judge. They weren't, they didn't laugh at them. They weren't, judgmental. And that community is really amazing. So not only will I teach you exactly how to do it, you're going to come out the other end with some amazing life stories, but you're going to have a small community of people who understand what you've gone through. They're going through the same thing, or they have gone through the same thing. And it's really, really encouraging. So I would encourage you to click on that. That is Life Story Laboratory, and that is opening soon.
Yay, that sounds amazing. I love it. And so important to go through this with a small group of people that you can all have each other's backs,
Mm-hmm.
and be guided together. And that's just so key, like to be able to have a community of people and know that you're not alone. So I love it. Thank you. And
You
again,
are
there's
welcome.
the 2 buttons below, everyone. So you can just click on both of those, get your free guide. And if you want to take Stacy up on her offer to join in that community, I highly recommend it. And are there any last insights, anything else that we've left out that you'd like to talk about?
I would just like for everybody to stop and think and imagine a time when you're writing your stories and you're starting to heal, right? Because that is absolutely doable. Imagine a time when you are leveraging the wisdom that you've learned from your stories. And imagine a time when you're sharing your stories with other people so they can learn and heal and grow as well. And right now, that's the time. This is the time for you to do just that. So I invite you to do it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for doing this again, Stacy. You're
You're
awesome.
welcome. Thank you. See you, Andy.
And thanks everyone who has showed up for themselves today to watch and listen to this latest class with Stacy. And we'll see you again real soon. Take care, everybody.